Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine Ferreira. I am the host and owner of Gem and Me. I want to take the time today to introduce myself. Who am I? I'm a young, proud, first-generation Latina born and raised in Washington Heights. I have excelled in my life with adversity, hope, belief, motivation, and most importantly, the power in me. And I believe everybody has their own power inside themselves. And I want to share this platform with you to be able to explore and dig very deep inside of you to find the blessings, the gifts that you were given to become the best version of yourself. So thank you so much for joining today to the Gem and Me podcast. I hope to give you blessings, aha moments, many gifts really that you have within yourself to be able to unfold and find those within you. Thank you for listening today and welcome to Gem to Me. The power is within you. Hello everyone, Gem and Me here. Thank you so much for listening today. I'm so honored and excited to have my friend Michelle here. She's a clarity coach, and since the day I met her, I think like we connected to like a whole nother level, even without words, right? Just eye contact. And she was presenting and it was like, okay, yeah, like this is a thing, like we have to talk. And I am so honored to have you here today because we've created such a beautiful friendship and partnership. And I want everybody to know who you are. Who is Michelle? Tell us.
Catherine, oh, you're such a gem. Thank you for having me, really. It is, just like you're saying, it's an honor for me also to be here with you. I will say that I feel really as if it's a gift in my life to have met you and to have,
You're so
you know,
sweet.
of course, well, just being real, like the way you show up so powerfully every time we talk and every time we meet, just like your presence is a gift. So just thank you for being in my life and, thank you for showing up so powerfully in the world.
Thank
Um,
you. You're
yeah.
so sweet. Thank you. I really appreciate you and our, meeting. Everything happens for a reason. And I feel like our partnership really embraces that, right? Of
Mhm.
like supporting each other and having that community and that sense of support.
Yes. Ah, beautiful.
I
So,
I want you to
yes.
tell us a little bit about you. Like, who is Michelle?
Right. Okay. Right. So a little bit about me. I am Michelle the Human. You can find me at michellethehuman.com. And basically, I started out kind of as as a kid, kind of trying to navigate in the world like the rest of us. And what I found was that this world, when you're a very, very little kid, you think, oh, everything's lovely and happy, and everyone's happy all the time. And then very quickly, life shows you that this is not necessarily the case. Being human can be, a struggle sometimes. And not that that's a bad thing, but it's just a very natural part of being human. And so, starting from that point, I've kind of, and we'll get into like the story later, but today I am a life coach and I dedicate myself to helping people kind of pursue their own wellness, whatever it means for them, right? Like my version of wellness is not necessarily the same as your version of wellness or somebody else's version of what it means to live their best life. And so I try to help people just kind of see through all the noise of the world, examine their relationship with themselves in maybe a new light, and practice kind of that mental flexibility that comes with paradigm shifting and just practicing looking at the world and ourselves in different ways in order to kind of understand more about like who we really are, what it actually means to be our best selves, live our best lives, and not be so weighed down by these little these little mundane details of the world, this very human world that we live in. So yeah,
Thank
that's
you so much for telling us about like what you do. And in terms of clarity, I want you to give us a brief description of what clarity means to you.
oh my gosh, I love that. Yes. So I think that kind of in this human experience, I think we all go through times, and some people more than others, but we all go through times where we look at the world around us and it starts to bring us down. We look at things in life and we start to make meanings out of what we see in our environment. We start making stories about like the emotions that we experience and maybe what caused the emotions. Oh, I feel not so great. And I think that's happening because of this part of the outside world, or this person, this object, this event, whatever. And so for me, I think clarity involves recognizing when we are making those stories, when we're making meaning out of things that are not necessarily connected or related to each other. And clarity involves, for me, kind of taking that deep dive to recognize, okay, I'm going through this emotional experience. What is that emotion really? Like, what is it trying to tell me? Uh, is this emotion kind of trying to tell me that this is an opportunity for me to grow?
Mm.
And yes, so learning to see within ourselves without the noise of the world.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, honestly, I feel like it's like being able to quiet all the noise, right? And
Mhm.
just being able to see yourself and then what is it that you want, right? The present moment and in the future. And like being able to quiet all those things that distract us, expectations, paradigms, and life and society norms and expectations. And
Oh my gosh, expectations are huge.
yeah.
So, yeah,
So
yeah.
thank you so much for that definition. Apart from your beautiful illustrated journey with clarity coaching, what are three beliefs and values that you live by?
Ooh. So beliefs and values that I live by. I love it. Okay, so this is a great question. I feel like the my kind of value system has evolved over time. Um, and I think that, our core values, like, and the way we recognize them will shift according to like whatever phase of life that we're in at the moment. And so one thing that I really try to live by is recognizing that change is inevitable. Like change is such a natural part of life.
Yes.
And I think a lot of struggle comes from it's like such a natural human tendency to try to avoid change, try to keep everything the same, like, oh, what we have right here, this is safe, this is familiar. So let's just try to keep everything the same. But that's not how life is, we're always changing,
Mm.
always growing. And the more we are able to just embrace that change and that flow, I think the more rewarding and satisfying our life experience can be. So embracing change, really like not just tolerating it, but learning to find the joy in change. Oh, wow, like look at us growing and changing and learning lessons and exploring different avenues of the human experience. Like finding joy in change is something that I've been leaning into a lot nowadays. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, my answers are so long-winded.
No, no, thank you. That's one of them. So that would be like
Uh-huh.
embracing change would be like one of your core values, right? And beliefs.
Yes,
And then
yes.
could you think about two other beliefs or values that you live by and you think that are like essential to like live in alignment?
Of course, of course. And so let's see, another one I think is recognizing my own tendency to make meaning out of things, and I think this applies to humans in general, but recognizing our own tendency to make meaning out of things. So that's like the clarity piece, but then going deeper into that, because once we have clarity, right, sometimes when we see like clearly and see straight to the truth, sometimes that causes us to feel a little discomfort. Sometimes the truth is not necessarily what we want to hear or how we want things to be. And so one of my core values, especially nowadays, is learning how to, or constantly using every moment as an opportunity to increase my capacity for discomfort, my capacity to handle all that meaning making that we humans do, and always practicing so that as I go forward, hopefully that discomfort and all of that like negative emotion, even if it's there, it doesn't control me. I can handle it. I feel uncomfortable. That's fine. I can handle it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to run away from that anymore.
Yes, that's beautiful. That resilience, right? Like building up your resilience and your capacity to maneuver when adversity is like,
Yes.
here I am. Hi, how are you? And you're like, no. And you
Yeah.
have to fight it, and that's what makes you like stronger.
Yes.
But then you're like, oh, like I already did something worse, right? I already conquered something worse or surpassed it, and I can do this, right? You believe in yourself because you did it before. You did something.
Right.
So thank you
Right.
so much for sharing those. That's really inspiring.
Yeah.
So embracing change, right? Building
Mhm.
resilience,
Mhm.
and maneuvering new things, right?
Right. Yes. And I guess if I can add one, I think that this is actually just a thought that crossed my mind when we were talking like prior to starting this recording, like, because Catherine, you're just so inspiring, all these gems. Amazing. But one thought that occurred to me that I was like, oh, I gotta mention this once we hit that record button is the idea of kind of, and it sounds a little cliche, but respect the journey,
Mm,
right? So on one hand, like when we say respect the journey, we think, oh, okay, so we're all like, I'm on my own path and I'm doing my best to grow. Every day I'm doing what I can. Some days I do more, some days I do not as much. Every day we have a different level of energy and a different capacity to meet the world. And so every day will look different.
yep.
And I think it's so important to, extend kindness and grace to ourselves and recognize that, yeah, we're not robots, we're not machines.
Yes.
It's okay. It's okay. Like some days the sun comes out, some days it drizzles. Like today in New York, it's a little bit rainy.
Yeah.
So
Thank you for
that's
the
okay.
illustration. I think that's huge because we have this expectation that our life should look a certain way or we should feel a certain way, right? And
Mhm.
part of healing and becoming the best version of yourself is also realizing that you're not all the time gonna feel on top of the world, right? We're
Right.
humans. Things are gonna
Yes.
happen, but the thing is you have to, if you fall, you get back up, right? Or you do
Mhm.
something that improves your day, or you had a pizza, but then later you're gonna go to the gym and burn
Yes.
it off, right? So it's like
Oh, so
taking little
relatable.
steps towards progress, towards
Yes.
that, or like having a balance, like, oh, I can't eat pizza. Yes, you
Mm.
can. It's not like you're not gonna eat pizza for the rest of your life. If you
Oh
love
my
pizza,
God.
most likely you will.
Yes.
But it is, if you're gonna have that pizza, make sure you run for 30 minutes or something, like having that balance and not feeling so guilty around
Right.
having this pleasure or living life, like
Yeah.
it's life, like it's gonna happen. Um,
Exactly, exactly. In this life, like, we only have one opportunity to find our joy and our peace and our comfort. And hey, if you want to have that pizza, have that pizza. The pizza is not the end of the world.
is not, is not.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, what inspired you to become a clarity coach?
Oh my gosh, Catherine, these questions.
Yes, a good one.
So, wow. So, wow. Oh my gosh, where do I start? Well, I guess, like I was telling you earlier, and we've had a lot of conversations, you and I, but I personally am very familiar with what it means to struggle with your mental health, your mental wellness. And I carry my own childhood trauma with me. And as an adult, I recognize a lot of like depression and anxiety in myself, which I think resonates with a lot of people, especially around, I don't know, is it like a millennial thing? I feel like
Yeah,
our
it's
generation,
coming out more now because people didn't recognize it or know what it was. So, or
yes.
they drank it off, or
Oh, numbing out. Yep, yep, absolutely. So, yeah, and now as we have more and more awareness, right, and more education and knowledge, people are recognizing, oh my gosh, this struggle that I've been feeling, it's an actual thing. Other people go through it too. We recognize this as part of the human experience, and now we have names that give us power and ownership over our experience. Depression, anxiety, trauma, whatever your experience is. And so I spent a lot of time in my life just trying to navigate my own mental wellness, my own mental health journey. And interestingly, when I first graduated from undergrad, I felt really compelled to try to help in some way. And I think a lot of people who struggle with their mental health or mental wellness, um, I think a lot of us end up as helpers or givers in the world because we recognize, oh, like this pain that I feel and this suffering that I feel, I see it in other people too. Like, it takes one to know one. And so, yeah, and and so just thank you also just personally, Catherine, for being one of those helpers and one of those givers. And so when I came out of undergrad, I really wanted to, do something that would allow me to contribute in a positive way to the world and hopefully, help other people who maybe were going through a similar journey as me, help lift them up and, provide a little solace in their lives. And then I ended up becoming a science teacher. That
my favorite science.
Ooh, same. And so I found myself in this amazing position where I had the opportunity to work with kids. I was a middle and high school science teacher. So my wonderful students, sorry, I get like emotional every time I think about them because like you
Oh,
can't help but to fall in love with your students. Um, yeah. And so every year I got to meet so many like amazing souls who are learning and growing in different ways and trying to make sense of the human experience. And I feel like talking to those kids, I got a very, very interesting view of like the the human soul, like in its like pure, just like unpolluted, undiluted form, just like this clean slate. And these kids, like as they go through the world, they're always questioning, like, oh, I heard someone say this. Is that true? Or somebody told me this about this other person, and should I believe that? Or, just like, oh, everyone likes this latest fashion brand, like, oh, but I don't really agree with that. Like, it doesn't really fit with my own personal sense of style. But I guess, should I just follow the trend? And like all of these basic human questions would come up when I would talk to my students. And I realized, like, wow, you guys, you are asking these questions out loud that I think a lot of adults have the same questions and like the same wonders, the same concerns, but a lot of adults are afraid to say these things out loud.
Wow. That's
And yeah, yeah. And so, I was so inspired by my students. And I loved kind of helping them learn to see the world in a way, and maybe this is influenced by my science background too, but in a way that's more clear, in a way where you can actually see like the truth or as close to the truth as you can get without adding politics and drama and whatever. Science is about cutting to the facts.
the facts. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
The proof.
yeah. And so I was a science teacher for, I think, 8 years. And then the pandemic happened. Ooh, and as we all know at this point, it was not only a medical pandemic, but it was also a mental health pandemic. And I realized, wow, like in the state of the world right now, with all these struggles, all these difficulties that we're experiencing, a lot of people now are kind of, it's like they're reminded of past pains that they've experienced or past traumas that they've experienced. And now, not only do we have the pandemic struggle, but also a lot of old things are coming up for people. A lot of, and so a lot of people ended up, oh, sorry.
No, I said, yeah, it was a pivotal moment, I would say, for everybody because we had to. I mean, I worked all through the pandemic. I didn't really have time to sit and not do anything, I guess.
Yeah.
But like overall, people had time to sit and be with themselves and with their loved ones, which they probably avoid half of the time. So they're like, do I really love this person, or do I really like resonate with this person? Do I really respect this person? And then it's like, okay, what does that say about me? And it's a whole jumbo of like thoughts and like things that people ignore, if you will, or were too busy to think about for the pandemic.
Wow. Actually, I love that you brought that up. Yeah. Before the pandemic, if people were not, or if people were struggling with their mental health, I think a lot of us would numb out and we would either, consume substances, or we would make ourselves insanely busy, just like constantly go, go, go. And whatever our choice or, our preferred poison is, it would drown out all of the noise in our heads. And so the pandemic gave us a time to just sit with all those thoughts. And like you said, those questions, those fears, those anxieties would come up. And then on top of that, like we're hearing, oh my gosh, like, oh, there's this wave and this variant and blah, blah, blah. And so now that's just like amplifying the volume of the fear and the anxiety. The fear is getting louder and louder. And I think that a lot of people, they, maybe they hadn't struggled with their mental health before that, or maybe now this increase in fear was kind of like the tipping point. And so as the volume of the fear became louder and louder, people struggled to handle it. And so I think that's kind of at least part of what accelerated the mental health crisis. And so I was like, okay, like I've literally spent my professional career helping kids like navigate through the noise. And like, also, I don't know, I feel like this is probably true for you as well, just based on like your demeanor and how you present yourself. But like in my life, like my friends would come to me as like the, like the,
Exactly.
oh, you're the person I can have deep conversations with. Exactly. Right. And so I was like, okay, I mean, I've had a little unprofessional practice in my personal life, but then I've also had a lot of like very formal and very professional experience with kids and helping them navigate the world, this new and unfamiliar place. If you're like 10 years old, it's a new world. And so, well, maybe I can use these skills. I never planned to go down this route, but maybe I can use these skills to help all these people out there who are trying to navigate this big scary pandemic, but feel a little overwhelmed by things like the fear, anxiety, and all this confusing noise. Oh, and don't even get me started on the political drama, just adding extra noise.
Exactly. So that's when you realize that you're like, okay, I need to become a coach. And then you left your career as a teacher.
Yes. Yeah. It was a really difficult decision to make because I loved teaching. I loved working with the kids. I don't know, there's a very magical and special energy when you're in a classroom just full of 20 kids who are all really excited to be there. And these kids are like, oh, I love science. What experiment are we doing today?
Yes.
And yeah, I really miss that sometimes still, but I feel really called to do this work that I'm doing right now. And I still feel like I'm adding to the world in a positive
You
way.
are. There's no doubt that we need you. We need you to help us navigate this scary, like you said, very clustered, distracting, dark, crazy
Yeah.
world. And like having people like you who could sit with us and kind of structure our life, but really like quiet the noise
Yeah.
and refocus our life, right?
Mhm.
Refocusing and sometimes people don't, even adults, quite don't know what their purpose is or like what they're here to do and what they love and what they really want. So
Mhm.
would you say that the pandemic has been like one of those pivotal moments or challenging moments in your life that really shaped who you are today?
Ooh, honestly, yeah. Yeah,
Share
absolutely.
another one that I was going to ask you, but since you mentioned the pandemic, I think that was a pivotal moment for everybody. But if you
Mhm.
want to share with us maybe something in your childhood or like later on in your life that you feel like changed you or really transformed like you into the person that you are today.
Wow. Um, sure. I wonder if he'll listen to this. But I think that one thing that really shifted the course of my life was when my younger brother was born. Um, so I am 9 years older than my brother. And oh, hey.
Yeah, 9 years older than my sister too.
Oh, wow. We have so much in common, you and I.
We do indeed.
Yeah. And so when my younger brother was born, it was it was a time of struggle for my family. And basically, like long story short, I ended up with most of the parenting roles. Yeah.
Yes.
So you know what I'm talking about here. Yeah. And so, when you're a 9-year-old kid and you end up with all of these parenting responsibilities, it's it like changes your world, like I never expected to, know how to change a diaper with one hand and like how to coax a little toddler into the bathtub and give them a bath and how to rock an infant to sleep. Like I didn't expect to be doing that at 9. But then that's what life threw at us, right? Like that's what happened. And so for a time, like I had an interesting mix of like resentment, like why do I have to do this when my friends are out there just
Preach.
yeah, yeah, exactly,
Preach.
exactly. Like, oh, everyone's out there having fun. My friends are just like going to the arcade after school, or they're like playing in the fields, frolicking in the meadows. And here I am just like rocking this baby, counting down the seconds until my parents get home. And it just it was it was an interesting blend of that feeling, but then also just like overwhelming love. Like I looked at this tiny little boy, my brother, and I was like, oh, you're so precious. I would do anything for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that was the first time in my life where I really had to learn how to just handle my inner world, and recognize that, as difficult as this scenario is for me, like I can handle this, like I got this. Calm down, inner self. We'll
Yes.
be okay. We know how to do all these things. It seems like a lot, but we can do it.
Yes.
Woosah.
Wow. Indeed.
Yeah. And so that was kind of the first moment. And
Wow.
from that point, it's just been like different versions of that, like we all have to deal with life.
Mm.
Life is like our little baby, right? Just like and so we learn how to handle the inner self
Wow.
and then do what we got to do.
That's so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And up till this moment, I didn't know that about you. And it's crazy
Oh,
how much we resonate and how similar we are because I went through the same experience. My mom had a daughter, when I was 9, and I was like the parent and, picking her up from the babysitter or daycare or taking her to church school or picking up her at school or making dinner for us or like you know, oh, I can't go here because I have to pick up Chanti, right? And it's like so much that you sacrifice and you're forced to grow up faster and
yeah.
to be independent. And so you no longer, apart from whatever's happening with you and your parents in terms of like love and nurturing, you
Mhm.
become your own person and so
Yeah.
independent that you really feel like you don't need anybody to do whatever it is. And that could be a curse and a blessing, right?
Oh, amen.
That's
Preach.
like, I don't need you, or like you try to take on so much because you don't need anybody, right?
Mm,
That really is something that you also have to work on because we can't do it all, right?
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's so magical that you share that because it kind of reflects on who also like how that shaped me. That experience, I never really thought of it. It's just something that I did in my life and my past, a part time,
Uh-huh.
full time, if you will.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it's something I never really thought of, and it's so powerful that you shared it because it could be something in there that could
Yeah.
teach me something about myself that I
Oh,
haven't really looked at. So thank you.
I absolutely. I feel like we don't give ourselves enough credit, and I feel like a lot of the time when we look back at our life story, like if you look back at your life story and imagine that it's someone else's story, like you're reading a biography and you're reading about someone who's done all the things that you've done, I
Yeah.
think a lot of us would be like, wow,
Yeah. Like wow,
good job. You,
exactly.
yeah, like you made it through all of that and you're still here and you're still trying to put love and light into the world. Amazing. Like you are just so inspiring. And I feel like that's what we would say about somebody else who has lived our exact lives, but then we don't give that kindness to ourselves a lot of the time.
Exactly.
So
Because we expect us like to fight, like you said, you become resilient and there's like
yeah.
thinking on your feet, and oh, there's nothing like I got this, right? You become like thick-skinned, and it's kind of nothing. It becomes like another task or another thing to conquer.
Ugh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But we are heroes, all of us in our own
We
ways.
are. So talking about being a hero, which you are, and you still,
Oh,
to your
oh
brother
shucks.
and to me and to the world, what is one of your proudest moments?
Wow. Huh. I think that man, this might sound really cheesy,
I
but
love it. I love it. Cheesy.
yeah.
Come on,
So,
come on. Yeah.
so whatever, nothing wrong with a little cheese, right?
Yeah.
Even and like without cheese, how could you have a pizza? So so I think that I feel a lot of pride when I think about those times when I would talk to my kids, my students. I don't have children of my own. So talking to my students that I worked with in the past, um, I really loved just like it lit up my soul when I would talk to the kids, and not it's like not even specific to science, but when I would talk to the kids and they would say something along the lines of, "Oh, I never thought about it that way."
Mm,
Huh. And just like watching a growing mind, like, kids are actively like learning new things about life every single moment,
yeah.
and watching that experience of a growing mind learning how to see the world differently. Like I think a lot of the time as kids, especially if someone grows up with a more sheltered upbringing,
Mm,
they see the world in one specific way and they're taught like this is the right way,
yeah.
this is how you should think.
Wow.
And yeah, and so meeting those kids and kind of working with them to the point where they would say, "Oh wow, like I never considered that. What? Like that's crazy. That's so cool."
Mm,
And seeing them find joy in seeing the world a different way, like actually excited to change their perspective of the world around them. I think that those were my proudest moments.
wow, that's so
When,
cool.
yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
thank you for sharing that. And I feel like it's so true. Like, in many households, if not all,
Mm,
parents expect their kids to have a certain mindset, a very close, strict, you know, mindset,
mm,
and that inhibits the kid to make decisions, right? Explore the world, you know,
mm,
have another perspective, open minded. It restricts kids so much. And sometimes parents think they're doing them a favor, but they're really like doing them a disfavor because that impacts, everything, the way they interact with others, how openly they are to try new things, it's
yes.
and like you were in the front lines of making it happen. So thank you so much for like, being a grasp of air to your, students, because we need that, apart
Oh,
from having a crazy household, which many of the kids do, right?
mm,
There's a lot of things going on in the household. Many are blessed, but I'm saying like
mm.
overall, I would say that a lot of the childhood is traumatic, right?
Oh,
There's a lot of stuff
yeah.
going on, and this most of the attention is not towards the kids,
Hmm.
which is a disadvantage. But like having people like you, like professors who are there to support, inspire and teach, you know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I love that you said, you know, sometimes like when parents teach their kids to see the world in a specific way, a lot of the time that interestingly, that comes from a place of love. Like they're trying to do what they think is best for the child, and they're trying to teach the child what they think will keep the child safe.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of the time, I feel like that comes from a place of love, but then also love with a layer of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, the outside world is scary and there's a lot to be afraid of. And so, because of that fear, I'm going to teach you how to be safe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, it's interesting because that ends up causing so much pain, right? That layer of fear. And like you said, we then, like, that child goes out and they're not able to be open-minded, they're not able to be receptive to all of the world's experiences because they're carrying that fear with them.
Mm.
And that fear which they learned from their previous generation.
Yeah.
And so it is so important to not be too hyper independent, kind of like we touched on a little bit earlier, where you're so focused on being your own person. I can do everything by myself.
Mm.
But if we let in, right, if we break through that fear a little bit and we let in others, supporters, like teachers, professors, like beautiful, like friends who can share wisdom with us, really mentors, like anybody who is a positive influence in our lives, then they can start to show us that, hey, that fear is not the whole world. Hey, look, there are other ways to look at the world. You can embrace the world with more of that love that's at the base of everything, and dig through that layer of fear. So I really love that you mentioned that. And I also want to give a shout out to all the teachers and the educators out there. Maybe if you're listening to this, like, thank you so much for doing what you're doing and supporting the kids and helping them to see the world in new and different ways, because we need that. It is so important. So
Yes,
thank you.
and crucial because and I feel like teachers aren't given the credit that like I praise you guys because it's not easy. I don't know how you guys do it, And I've always lived by like education and ethics, if just for the lack of a better word, really start
Sure.
at home. But you know, they're not given at home like most of so it's like you
Right.
guys have it double. Like you guys have to do double work basically, the home side and then the classroom
Yes.
side of it.
Yeah, exactly. And that is exhausting work. I'm not a teacher anymore, so I can't take like all the credit here.
You did enough. You did enough. You did enough of the love.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, I gotta say, those 8 years, I was exhausted for 8 years straight, basically, like emotionally, physically, mentally, everything. So to those people who have been teachers, for longer than that, oh my gosh, like there are some people who have been teaching for their entire professional careers, like all the way up till retirement. I just, hats off, just, oh my gosh, round of applause forever and ever.
Yeah.
And
I
thank
have
you for,
a second to last question.
sure.
Um, what would you say to your younger self?
Oh, oh my goodness. Where do we begin? Oh, I think that one thing that I remember about my younger self is that she experienced a lot of pain, and she blamed herself for almost all of it. And I think that this happens to a lot of kids, where kids see something negative or they feel something negative, and it's like a very natural part of being a child is to center yourself, right? So like if you see an adult constantly centering themselves, you're like, oh, why are you so self-centered? Like, oh, think about other people. But for a child, being self-centered is kind of like, it's a survival mechanism. When you're like a small, like, think about humans out there in the wild. If like at the very, very beginning of our human species, when we're just walking around in the grasslands, hunting and gathering our food, if you're a small little human child, like, you gotta think about number one. You have to put yourself first.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, you might starve if you don't ask for food, or a big predator might come and like gobble you up. And so putting yourself at the center of your experience is a very natural part of childhood, human childhood. It's a survival mechanism. It's how we learn to live. And so I think that a lot of the time, kids who go through difficult experiences in the modern world, I think that they take that pain, I don't know, my past self, we take that pain. And then because of the natural human tendency, the child's tendency to center ourselves, we take that pain and we say, it's because of me. I did something wrong. I said something wrong. Or, I wasn't enough. I didn't do enough of this or that or the other thing. And so this situation, this negativity is because of me. I'm bad. It's my fault. I did something wrong. And I think that, looking back at that with my adult eyes, my adult inner eyes, seeing with the eyes that see, I recognize that actually, we as individual people, we're not we're not responsible for most of the things that happen. Like a lot of the time we're just sitting here looking at the world, doing what the world does, which is just chaos and randomness.
Yeah.
And it's up to us to make the connections. What do we connect that to, and what meaning do we make of it? And so I recognize now that my child self was looking at the world, blaming herself for all of the bad things that happened. And if I could go back and talk to her, I'd say, hey, it's okay. It's okay. It's not you. You're fine. You are enough. You are perfect just the way you are. You don't need to try harder. You don't need to change yourself. You're okay. Sometimes the world is crazy. You're okay. And I think that's what I would want to tell my younger self.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so powerful and so hard to say, right? Because part of that childhood experience is pain and fear and lack of control. And so when you look back, you're like, I feel like our inner child is like still there, right? Liking all these things.
Oh, always.
And with all these beliefs, even though we've evolved, obviously, and grown, that inner child is still with those voids, if you will, right? Of things that weren't fulfilled or told to her, right?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh, of course, of course. It is a blessing, really. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share and kind of, be real with you and the rest of the world.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to have you here and to share this space with you. Gem and Me is your space too and your community, and you're always welcome to come here and talk and be involved in everything, right? I want you to tell us your services, like what services do you offer, your social handles, so our listeners can reach out to you, and I'm sure they'd like to learn more about what you do.
Oh my goodness. Oh, thank you for the opportunity to self-promote. It's appreciated.
Yes.
So yes, so in terms of the services that I offer, I realized that kind of in my own journey of like pursuing therapy and coaching in my own personal life, I realized that sometimes when people are going through mental wellness struggles, like sometimes a little structure is really good for us and we thrive with a little bit of a routine. But sometimes that's not the case. And sometimes people like to just have a little flexibility, a little grace, like, sunny days, rainy days, some days you show up, some days it's harder. And so in terms of my services, I meet with people for coaching sessions, usually 1 hour. But like if people want more time, we can work that out. And a big thing for me is offering people a lot of flexibility in their, I guess, scheduling of how they meet with me. So some people like to make a routine. Okay, once a week, we'll talk, same day, same time, once a week. And like they have that to look forward to every week. Some people like to just have it be open-ended. Okay, like let's talk, and I'll reach out to you when I feel like I need another kind of clarity tune-up. And so, I'll do one-on-one virtual coaching. Like I said, scheduling is flexible and up to you and what is best for you in the place that you are at, kind of in your journey. But then also I offer kind of like a I call it wellness concierge services. And so sometimes people have like a week or a period of time where it's especially like difficult or trying. Sometimes they know they can anticipate, like, oh, I know that I have like this big project or family drama or whatever. Like, this is a particularly tough moment. And so for those times, wellness concierge services are a little bit more intense or intensive, where it's like you get video call. So we can do our normal video calls and you'll get 2 hours a week of video calling. But then also with the concierge service, I open my texts up to people. So if they want to just text me real quick, like, oh, I need a breath of like a mental breath of fresh air, then they can like text me and we can chat a little bit, and just have a small conversation in that way. And so the wellness concierge is like a combination of video call and text chat. And basically, I'm just your accountability partner for a week.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And share your social handles where they can find you. I'll post it on the social show notes as well, but just so they can.
Sure. So primarily, so I have a website, first of all. If you want to find me, you can just go to michellethehuman.com. I get a little chuckle every time I say Michelle the Human. I feel like it's silly, but it's so perfect at the same time.
I love it.
Thank you. So michellethehuman.com, and that's Michelle with 2 L's. Or you can find me on Instagram. I think that's a good way to contact me. And that's Michelle.thehuman. Got to put that dot there, because when I went to make this account, there were a couple other Michelle the Humans. So I was like, snap. All right, well, we're throwing the dot in.
Yeah.
So Michelle.thehuman. And that's on Instagram.
Well, thank you so much again for being here and sharing the space with me and being vulnerable and sharing your story and being open your heart and soul to us. I really appreciate it. And like I said, every time we meet, it's like a party, because it's like amazing ideas and really unpacking of all these things that we have in common and share. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for listening.
Oh, yes. It was a gift to be here. Thank you so much for having me on. Really, I just love our conversations. Like I was telling you before we started recording, every time I have a conversation with you coming up, I'm like, yes, Catherine.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I'm so grateful that you're here listening to my podcast, Gem and Me. I hope that you continue to share, continue to listen on very important topics that I discuss in my growth and journey to what is called life. I hope that you're able to learn and explore different values and things that you have within you. I really hope to serve as a support system and a community to those who need that inspiration in that community, because I know that I needed this, I still do, but like growing up, I felt like I needed something where I can, see the examples and have a support system. So I hope to serve as such. Thank you for listening and have a great one.